My name is Martin, and I lead one of the 8th grade boys groups here at Beach Church. I have pretty much always grown up in church, despite all the winning that I did in Vacation Bible School and Bible memory and and fundraising and everything else. The whole concept of following God just was absent. It wasn't something I understood. And I think that following God almost requires a knowing God. And I just had no idea who God was, despite how much, involvement I had. I came from a family that was very poor. It often led to me becoming angry and resentful. As I moved on through middle school and high school, that anger and resentment started to have its way with me a little more than I had my way with it. Often led to a lot of fighting, a lot of trouble at school. As I came towards the end of school, there was a big push for me to rededicate my life and get baptized. And I did it to please the parents and please the parents' friends, but there wasn't any real meaning to me. Later, I went off to school, didn't do well there. I was a Jack's Beach lifeguard living at the station, exposed to a lot of heavy drinking and drugs and certainly a lot of women and promiscuity. For me, I thought that I had experienced ultimate freedom at that point. That was just a doorway into what was to become. And I started looking at drugs as, they cost money and I don't want to spend my money on them. So how about it, instead of just buying a bag of weed this week, I'll buy an ounce or a quarter pound, and then I can sell my buddies some weed and I'll get mine for free. And drug dealing started off completely as a recreational assist to my lack of finances. It then became a hobby. It then became something that brought me a lot of attention that I constantly desired and money that I'd never had. And it quickly became a business. And then that business turned into a big business. It just kept going and going and going and going. It had become something that I was now importing from outside the country. I had my own plane. I had 13 homes, Mercedes-Benz, a Land Cruiser, a boat, and it was just never enough. People would ask, well, how could you feel so trapped? To have all these things, to have the ability to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, and to be making 40 to 50 grand a month. How could you possibly feel trapped? Well, I guess it's because I knew that wasn't me. Deep down inside, I knew that wasn't me. I was living a double life and just doing everything I could to try and make people think that I was the man that I wanted them to think I was. Well, all along, I was pretty much the polar opposite. I remember telling myself over and over and over, I'll quit when? I'll quit when I decide to ask Tess to marry me. I'll quit when we get married. I'll quit when we get pregnant. I'll quit when we have a baby. And, as I started kind of to recount how many times I said I'll quit when, I started to realize the bondage that I was in. And I started to realize that I might not be able to quit. I actually got to a point where I remember looking in the mirror and saying, F it, I'll quit when I get caught. And it was shortly after that I started, I remember one time had a truckload of stuff that we were trying to dispense, and we literally had a helicopter following us like we were the guys in Goodfellas or something. The Department of Justice visited one of my banks and subpoenaed all my financial records. And I knew that I was going down. And then my wife wakes up in the middle of the night, one night, completely soaked in sweat. And I'm like, what? And she looked at me and she goes, oh my gosh, I just had the craziest dream. And she looked at me and she goes, God said he's going to use you in amazing ways. I couldn't help but laugh at her. And all I could think was, how's he going to use me now? 2 weeks later, December 6, 2001, at 6:04 in the morning, my doorbell rang. I heard dogs barking outside. I heard people screaming orders. I looked up and I said, it's time, isn't it? And I heard that still small voice say, yes, it is.